So you've inherited the family home. Your first thought, move in? Why not? You can save a fortune on rent while the estate gets sorted out and you get to keep an eye on the place. It feels like a smart move and a small silver lining during a really difficult time. But what if I told you that you're not actually saving money? What if that rent-free situation is actually a financial and legal trap? The hard truth is, living in that house could end up costing you more than you can imagine, in money, in time, and maybe even in family relationships. In this video, I'm going to break down the shocking costs you'll be on the hook for and explain exactly how your siblings could legally force you out and take over the house. You're going to want to stick around because what you don't know here can absolutely destroy your finances and your family. Let's start with the biggest and most painful trap, the belief that living in an inherited house is free. This is the number one misconception, and it's the one that gets most people into trouble right away. You may not be writing a rent check, but you're basically become the de facto owner responsible for every single cost that comes with the property. And these aren't small costs. First, you've got the non-negotiables, property taxes, and homeowners insurance. While the estate is technically responsible for these, if there's not enough cash in its accounts, the executor might turn to you, the person living there, to pay them. Why? To stop the county from foreclosing or the insurance from lapsing. We're talking thousands of dollars a year in taxes. And if the county reassesses the home's value after your parents' death, you could get slammed with a supplemental tax bill that's shockingly high. Then you have the utilities, power, gas, water, trash, internet. It all adds up. And it's your problem now. These services don't care that the owner has passed away. If the bills don't get paid, the lights will go out, which is not only a headache for you, but can lead to bigger problems. The real budget killer, the one no one seems to be ready for, is maintenance. When you're a renter and the water heater goes out, you call the landlord. Guess what? You're the landlord now. That leaky roof, your problem. The air conditioner that dies in the middle of the heat wave, that's a $5,000 phone call you have to make. The yard that's so overgrown it's violating city code, you better find a lawnmower or you'll be paying fines. Often, these homes are older and might have years of deferred maintenance. You could be looking at tens of thousands of dollars in repairs that you are now on the hook for. All of a sudden, rent-free living has you bleeding cash just to keep the house from falling apart. And you're paying all of this while the house isn't even legally yours. That's the first and most expensive part of the trap. This leads us to the second and arguably most dangerous trap, the legal maze known as probate. Just because you're living in the house doesn't mean you own it, not by a long shot. Probate is the formal court process for handling a deceased person's estate. Until a judge finalizes probate, the house doesn't belong to you or your sibling. It belongs to the estate. And who's in charge of the estate? The executor. This person, who could be a sibling, another relative, or a professional, has all the legal power over the property. You don't. That means you can't make any big decisions. You can't sell it. You can't get a mortgage on it. You can't even do major renovations without the executor's permission. You're basically a tenant with no control. The executor's job is to protect the interest of all the beneficiaries, not just the one who moved into the house. And this isn't a quick process. Probate can take months or even well over a year. The whole time you're in legal limbo. The executor has the power to manage the property, and that includes deciding if you can live there. They might be fine with it, but they also have the right to ask you to sign a lease and to pay fair market rent to the estate. Let that sink in for a moment. Your own family, through the executor, could demand that you start paying rent. If you say no, they could start the eviction process. That rent money doesn't go into their pockets. It goes into the state's bank account to pay for expenses. With the rest being split among all heirs. So while you think you're getting a free ride, you could be walking straight into a legal showdown where either pay up or get out. This is where families start to break apart, and that's where things get personal. An inheritance is already an emotional powder keg. Having one sibling move into the family home is like lighting the fuse. This is the third trap, the almost unavoidable family conflict. Even if your siblings say it's okay at first, that goodwill can run out fast. And while you're enjoying your free house, they're getting zero benefit from their inheritance. They see you using an asset that belongs to them just as much as it does to you, and it's only natural for resentment to build. They have their own mortgages and rent to pay, and they start to feel like you're taking advantage of the situation. This resentment usually explodes in a couple of predictable ways. First, like we just talked about, they can demand you pay rent. Any sibling can go to the executor and make the case that the estate is losing money because the house isn't being rented out to a paying tenant. It's a powerful legal argument, and courts tend to agree with an estate's asset should be productive for everyone involved. Second, and even more devastating, they can force a sale. Any heir can file something called a partition lawsuit, which asks a judge to order the house to be sold so the money can be split up. It doesn't matter if you want to keep the house in the family or if you have nowhere else to go. If just one sibling wants to cash out, a court can, and often will force everyone to sell. Suddenly, your dream of living in the family home is over because of one legal document filed by a frustrated brother or sister. You'll be forced to move. The house gets sold, maybe even at a lowball court auction. And the legal fees from the fight eat away at everyone's inheritance. By trying to save a little money on rent, you risk of poisoning the family and losing the house anyway. If any of this is sounding familiar and you're seeing some of these red flags in your own life, do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button. The world of inheritance is a minefield. And my goal here is to give you the clear, direct advice you need to protect yourself and your inheritance. Let's say you somehow dodge the family drama and the legal fights. There's still one last silent trap waiting for you, the financial risk of a declining asset. While you're living in the house, the clock is ticking and the real estate market is changing. Every month that goes by is another month of the property's values that could go down. Housing markets can be volatile if interest rates tick up or the local job market slumps. The value of the home can drop fast. That perfect window to sell might slam shut while you're still making yourself at home. On top of that, the house itself is getting older. Even with you living there, things go wrong. A tiny leak you don't notice turns into a massive mold problem. Old wiring becomes a fire hazard. The longer the house sits in this probate limbo, the more it can fall into disrepair, which not only tanks the sale price, but also makes it harder to sell at all. Then there's the issue of capital gains tax. Here's how it works. When you inherit a property, its cost basis is stepped up to its fair market value on the date of death. This is great news because it means you all decide to sell the house immediately. You likely won't owe any capital gains tax. But here's the trap. That step up is a one-time deal. If you wait a year or two and the house appreciates in value, you and your siblings will owe taxes on every dollar of growth that occurred after the date of death. By delaying the sale, you could be creating a whole new tax bill for everyone. An inherited house is a shared asset. By living in it, you're preventing that asset from being sold and distributed. You're forcing your siblings to keep their inheritance locked up in a single piece of real estate. And all of you are taking a gamble on the market. It's a gamble where a few months of free rent could cost your family a fortune. So how do you avoid falling into these traps? It all boils down to two things. honest communication, and a proactive plan. First, you have to sit down with all the other heirs for a serious talk. This isn't a casual chat, it's a business meeting. You need to put everything on the table. What does each person want to do with the home? Sell it? Rent it out? If you're the one who wants to live there, you have to address the fairness issue directly. Offer to pay fair market rent to the estate. Even better, if you want to buy out your siblings, start that process now. Hire a neutral appraiser to set a fair price. Get your financing in order and draw up a formal buyout agreement. Second, you all have to agree on a timeline. When will the personal belongings be cleared out? By what date will you decide whether to sell or to have one person buy it? Deadlines are your friend. They stop the process from dragging on, which is where the resentment and financial risks really build up. Finally, don't try to do this on your own. Any legal and emotional stakes are way too high. The state absolutely needs a probate attorney to guide the executor. You should also think about hiring a real estate agent who specializes in probate and inherited properties. They can act as a neutral third party to help everyone make the best financial decision. The idea of living rent-free in a home you've inherited sounds like a blessing, but more often than not, it's a curse in disguise. It saddles you with hidden costs, drags you into a legal nightmare, ignites family feuds, and jeopardizes the value of the very inheritance you're trying to protect. The smart path is to treat the house for what it is, a shared financial asset. By communicating openly, setting a clear plan with firm deadlines, and getting professional help, you can get through this difficult time with your family relationships and your inheritance intact. Making the right choices now will save you from a world of financial pain and family regret down the road. Thanks for watching. If you found this helpful, please hit the thumbs up and share it with anyone who might be going through this. And don't forget to leave comments and questions below. We offer free consultations to support your family during this very sensitive time.